So, Brian, thank you so much for taking the time today to being a part of our community of practice channel here on YouTube. And on behalf of SETSI, we thank you so much for your participation and leadership today.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Awesome. So, as always, we begin by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our liberation and sovereignty. Oh, I'm getting tongue-tied today.
That's okay. It came across great for me.
Awesome. So, if you can please do us the honors by introducing yourself to our listeners and viewers and tell us about your amazing work.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. It's Brian Posavad. I'm the CEO here in the YMCA of Greater Halifax, Dartmouth, and I support YMCA's across the Atlantic region. And I don't know if it's great and remarkable work, but what we do, I think, is pretty important. And we have been, for over 170 years, we've been supporting, I would suggest, social inclusion, trying to develop equity, and really a sense of belonging to community. So we're in Mi'kma'ki, and we strengthen our partnership there. But I think a really interesting piece of Nova Scotia is we have over 50 Black communities that started right from the early 1600s when Nova Scotia and Canada was sort of founded. So we really have this rich history that we're working from, and in RY, we're really it's that intersection of staff and volunteer and participant, and the big focus on youth, and how do we actually create a sense of optimism and belonging. And that has been something that the Y has tried to do over the last, as I said, 170 years.
Yes, I know Nova Scotia definitely has a very rich history, so that's amazing. We thank you for that.
Oh,
Um,
yeah,
mhm,
we have a community YMCA which is home. It's downtown Halifax on
mhm,
Gottingen, and it is got a legacy so rich and amazing. From basketball to food programs to you name it, and we've been in church
mhm,
basements and schools, and now they
mhm.
have their own building, and
Wow.
it's fun. It's fun to see sort of that intergenerational work in action. Like you don't get to
Right.
see that every day. So the
Every day,
respect,
yeah.
it is. It's an amazing experience there.
Awesome. So with that, like, can you articulate your personal mission and vision and what inspires you about the work that you do?
Probably the best question you can ever ask someone, and I think it goes back to I was lucky enough to have some exposure to the Y as a youth, and the ability to work with people that weren't like me in places that made me uncomfortable, and unfortunately I'm well past my youth stage, and so now it's incumbent upon me to make sure that we have a place where we can work on youth resilience and equity in how we approach it, and really in a healthy and well space. We have, you know, I love when I hear the term "youth is our future." I'm like, no, it's today. Like, if we're not challenging their leadership now, we're doing them a disservice and ourselves a disservice. And I think at the Y we really live that. Like, we have I'm going to say 500 employees, give or take, another couple, 300 or 400 volunteers, and more than 40% of those that are in our employ are designated youth, right, under the age of 29, many under the age of 25, first-time jobs, but they're giving so much back to our community that if that doesn't inspire you, nothing will.
Exactly. I always say that too. Like, the children, the future we're looking for is now because I always say we're planting the seeds and, we know that we wanted to be able to blossom into something very productive, very prosperous for our next generation. So what we're doing is so important, but it will get passed on. So we're doing great work in order for that to happen.
I love that. I mean,
Mhm.
you know, I always love, is leadership built or is it, innate? Or I think it's, probably a little bit of both, but I think, YMCA's are pretty much the training ground for that. You know, we put our basketball coaches together with our lifeguards, with our camp counselors. Like, you have 17-year-olds taking canoe trips on the ocean with a bunch of 10-year-olds. You're telling me that's not if that's not something that's critical and trustworthy and responsible. I don't know what else is. And when you apply, and I think it's universal, right? Even as we become adults, when you give the opportunity to be successful, when you give the acknowledgement that you can do that, and then you can see someone that you can model after that's done it. It's just a recipe for success, and we just have such amazing youth that have done so much in this community that again,
Right.
I go on for hours, but
Yeah, exactly.
that floats my boat.
That's awesome. I love the passion. Love it. So, what challenges or barriers have you faced, and how will you, how have you overcome them, or you're still working towards it?
Working towards it. Yeah, great. Again, great. Like again, we are a double-edged sword on being a 170-year-old organization. We were built out of a colonial substruct. If you went back to the original roots, right? Young Men's Christian Association. Well, we're not. The only thing we are now today is an association. We accept all ages, all faiths, all sexes, all. It is we work towards daily a very inclusive space, and there's a deep layer of racism underneath our community here in Nova Scotia and Halifax, and sometimes it's even more challenging because it's the polite kind. It's not the in your face situation, and we've had that in our organization too. So we've spent I've been here for 10 years now. We've spent the last 10 years trying to make sure that I don't care where you go in one of our 80 locations. When you walk through that door, you should see yourself and you should feel comfortable. And bringing that to life has been a challenge. But again, having those youth in all of our spaces, demanding that we act in this manner has been sort of, you want culture shift, you want transformation. That's where we start. And so we've been working on that a lot. I could say we opened a community center in the middle of COVID. That was, I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. Don't do it. But really culturally, just showing up the right way at the right times, and accepting when we make the mistakes. I think I also am really proud of, while the youth will kick my shins if we're not doing what we say we should do, they're some of the first to say thank you for trying to do things differently. And so I'm very grateful. I have a youth advisory committee that supports me, and those can be some pretty tough hours because again, you're sometimes turning an organization and helping to try and turn a community. It's like a Titanic, right? It's this big steamer that just doesn't want to move. It's not a speedboat by any stretch of the imagination. So we're working hard, but it's something that we're proud of.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the youth are gonna, they're forward. They're going to speak their mind because they want changes. We have
Yep.
to be, held accountable and take responsibility for certain things that are going on. But then we move forward to change it and work together with the youth because they're very bright, very bright. Yeah.
And open and and
Yes,
and
that's right.
and we when you get to be my age, you've got a bunch of scars that you may not be able to look by, but they challenge us to go by those things and to look at this with a new lens. And I just
Absolutely.
like that is probably my greatest learning over my overly long career is just
Hmm.
how can I take my step back and look through different eyes.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. So, what are some of the key priorities? Like, what are you working on currently?
Well, we for our why specifically, it's sort of that more why for more people. We are very strong in certain areas, like we do camp and childcare, health and wellness facilities. We're in immigration, youth, mental health and resilience. Particularly, we're a developmental organization, and so our biggest challenge is probably we don't have enough resources to do the things we need to do. And so how my job as CEO is, okay, I'm the chief resource collector, and aligning with partners and making sure what we do, we don't just read our own press clippings. We've got to make sure we test it, work with our community to make sure we're doing the things that are being asked for, and actually probably we even to be more proactive in the discussion, of what is it we need to do, and where can our partners align? Because not for profits, if they're an island, they're not going to be here very much longer. There's just no way to do it, and to change the sort of that the whole paradigm of talk, like the board of directors, the CEO. Well, I make a mandate, all that other fun stuff. Well, that while it's efficient, it's not effective. And again, 170-year-old organizations don't change as quickly as some. So we've been working with that in our funders, particularly because sometimes our funders are misinformed or misaligned. And there's nothing worse than saying you've got all this resource for us, and if you just listened a little closer, we could really make some impact. And so I think that will be the challenge till I hand the chair over to somebody else for sure.
Right, right, right. Well, we appreciate all that you do, especially the YMCA is so important, so vital. I mean, growing up, I remember it vividly, really getting me through tough times, you know?
I was going to say, I'm going to ask you for your why story before this is done, because I know you got one.
Oh, yeah. Oh yes, oh yes. I'm telling you. I mean, back when we were going to school, we had at least outlets. We had like the centers. I grew up in Mississauga. We had our little community centers where we play games and video game. You know what I mean? Just to kind of get away, or before we go and do our heavy homework, or problems at home, or whatever the case may be. It was always that comfort where you know that you can, just take your mind off things. Yeah. So it's amazing.
Absolutely. Our community Y has 28 basketball teams that play throughout the province, and it has nothing to do with basketball. Their phrase is "carry the ball, carry the books," right? Like we have the mentorship for them. They're part of the food program, and it's a safe and comfortable space. And they dictate it. They tell me what colors the walls need to be, what kind of food should be served, in the after school program, all these other fun things, and it's there might not be a better place on the planet than when I go into the
Hmm.
community Y right after school and see them
Hmm.
going to, whether it's going to counseling, grabbing their snack, getting on the court, and evolving too, right? From basketball to now where we have a like many urban centers, this
Hmm.
gentrification of the neighborhood and
Hmm.
change,
Hmm.
and so
Right,
how do we
right.
make sure the newcomers and our legacy African Nova Scotians and the others that live in the community can be in there in a way that is respectful to one another. So
Absolutely.
it's a fun mix around 4 o'clock. Anytime you're in Halifax, I'll bring you down there.
Oh, for sure. Appreciate that. I would love to. So
Excellent.
tell me, how do you feel about the future of social impact in Canada?
Oh, it's critical. Like there's no um the, the when it's hard to measure, it's important to do. And if someone had a great scorecard that I could start to use that made all the sense in the world, where I didn't need 16 researchers that I couldn't afford, we would love that. But I love like organizations like yourself, and the drive, the resource has to be there, because we had a mayor who just finished in Halifax, who on his third term mandate finally said, you know what, we've had all this, our city's had a bit of a renaissance, growth has moved forward. He goes, but I have, my neighbors are living in tents on my yard. My, our community is not, like, while we are seeing growth and we are seeing some, the GDP and all the other measures that people can say, look at how well we're doing. You're looking at and it's not a minority of the community either anymore. This is, if we don't move together, there's no opportunity to be a successful community, which is sort of what, again, what we are. We can't be it, but we can be part of a solution. And I think that's where how do we fit in that, and how do we push that forward, and how do we help? It's always more
Mhm.
questions than answers. That's how we show up.
That's it. That's it. Totally agree. Totally agree. Again,
Well,
I lean on, the next generation to really, um, you know, put a lot of talk, because, we are putting in action, but there's more talk.
yeah,
But,
yeah.
next generation is definitely about that action and manifesting things into reality to make it make the place better, more conducive for everyone, So loving that.
I couldn't
Mhm.
agree more, right? Like and this is finding. I, I have that one little glimmer of optimism though, because you know I think it's I think even in the private sector they're starting to realize that there's an economic model to this. Like you know it's great to see their mission statement on the wall, and someone can reiterate it from the website, but when you start to see it in action, when you start to see the when the economic clout that is there, and their requirement for different voices in different ways, it makes your organization so much better. And we're not there. I'm not even going to pretend, but I do know
Mhm.
at least we can start to dictate where we will spend our dollars. Like
Yes. Yes.
where we will spend our time. And for our YMCA's, it's been a resurgence. Like a decade ago, we were not in a great space. We weren't listening well, and we're trying. And those things make a huge difference. Now, philanthropically, we're better. More people are participating. We're in more community. Like there is an economic model to what we do when you're actually doing the right thing.
Right. That's right. That's right. So, what is the ultimate goal, and what does success look like to you? I think you've mentioned this before, but if you can just summarize, that for me.
I, I'll turn it. We just finished hosting our peace medal breakfast, and so we do this an annual. It's like the best feel good space that I have all year round, and it's where we acknowledge peacemakers in our community, who are doing something, and it's not the ones that are in the media and are doing all this. It's recognizing people for moving an inch, helping someone else look differently, helping your community have a position in the community. So we awarded three amazing, like, again, it was a basketball coach, a social activist that helped establish a food kitchen, and we had Quinta Adams, who is a vice provost here at Dalhousie University, give an amazing speech. And her whole foundation was, it's what I learned at the community Y that makes a difference. And if we could be a catalyst that helped everybody move in an inch, just an inch, imagine what could happen if you had 30 million people move in an inch. I think it'd be, instead of the three or four that think they have to. And we're starting to get that in our organization. And I think the other best part of that peace medal was just that there was over almost 400 people in this little tiny room at Pier 21, which is one of those newcomer museums that how people settled in Canada through the early parts of the 1900s. And there was over 80 youth in that room for a breakfast. And I don't know about you, but getting a teenager to get up for a 7 a.m. breakfast isn't the easiest thing on the planet. And it was to see all ages, and the talk, and the passion and dedication in the room, and I could see in the youth, they go, I see myself in that. I could do that. That's not impossible. And the level of aspiration and enjoyment and inspiration that was walking out while I was saying, like, I got at least 30, 40 emails from folks just saying, wow, could we bottle that and maybe have a little sip of that every morning so we can figure out the right way to start our day. And I think that's what our Y's got to do, and help others do it.
Right, right. Awesome, awesome. That's
There you go.
amazing. So that
No
means,
real answer, but it's a feel good
oh no,
story.
no, no, no. That was straight. I wanted that to just permeate. That was really good.
Yeah. So you got to
Exactly.
fill me in on your Y story before you let me
Oh
go.
yeah. Oh man. I mean, you know, one thing I really enjoyed was when you go to the Y, they have so many different things to do, so it wasn't just a one trick pony. We always had like with the fitness facility, there's always like the gym fitness. There's some had swimming pools, if you want to sign up for any extracurricular activities after school, so like I said, it was an outlet. It was a place to go, just hang out with your friends and, oh man, I got this big exam that I got to do, but let me just come here and kind of relax and get my head in the game before I have to go home and study. So it was just that like open arms, second home, as you would say, to come there and just be with your friends, be with, people in the community, and seeing everybody kind of just, as we say, vibing. So,
I love it. I love it.
yeah, yeah. So it makes a big difference in especially a young person's life, because if you're just school, home, school, home, school, home, school, home, and then, maybe you got a lot going on in school and at home, where is your outlet? And a lot of times kids will hold things in and not really show it until it's too late, or they'll implode, but the YMCA has been there for, so many generations, to kind of have a place to go and also get knowledge, get information, even things that are other things that are going on in the city and in the community. You wouldn't know if it wasn't for YMCA kind of promoting it as well. So we
Jeez.
definitely owe a lot to that.
I'm gonna bring it to Halifax. I'm gonna record this one and start to play there. Better than I did.
Oh, wow, thanks. Thank you. So, Brian, this has been an amazing interview. I really, really appreciate it. This is not going to be the last. We have a lot of collaboration to do because, you play such an important role on community and the generations, the young people who, you know, not having to be in front of a computer all the time, not having to always just be stuck in the room. No, come to a community place like this where you can, kind of take your anger out on the basketball court, or take
Got
your
it.
frustration out of, at badminton or in the gym, where you don't have to worry about the pressures. You know what I mean? So we really appreciate it. My last question to you is, what are your closing thoughts or calls to actions at this time?
I think we're better together. I mean, if it's going to be a call to action, the world's got some crazy things going on. I'm boggled by some choices, but we can't let that stop us. And we are better together. And there's enough positive momentum that we can't go backwards. And so that would be my message, and that's my message to our team and our youth and in our
Hmm.
immigration center and our community, like all the different spaces. Yeah, we
Hmm.
can get kicked, but it's what do we
Hmm.
want? How do we want to show up after? How are we going to move
That's
this
right.
forward? I will stay optimistic. We
Hmm.
we can't go backwards because it just doesn't work.
We can't. No, it doesn't work. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together.
Absolutely.
So, we know collaboration is really the key to social change, because when, they always say two heads are better than one, I mean, let's work
Yep.
together to build a brighter future for the next generation. We don't have a choice, really.
Yeah, but
We don't have a
that's
choice.
that's exactly it. There's
Yeah,
only one way to go forward that's going to work. So
that's right. That's
if we
right.
don't do it, then that. Thankfully, I think
Yeah.
we got a great number of youth that are not going to accept it. They just got to
Yes.
figure out the power they have.
That's it. That's it. Well, Brian, thank you so
Real
much on
pleasure.
behalf of Setsi. Again, we really appreciate it. We'll definitely be in touch. So we will close the way that we began, by acknowledging the original stewards of the various lands that we are on. We also acknowledge our ancestors. We acknowledge all those who toiled without compassion or compensation. We acknowledge all the elders and community stalwarts whose shoulders we stand on as we build, share, learn together for our collective liberation and sovereignty. So once again, we'll definitely be in touch. Brian, thank you so much for everything that you do. Much success to you in the future, and much health.
Thank you. You too.
All right, all the best.